That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. I'm Sid Part 2, and I think I finally figured this thing out. It's a nice, simple way of getting the process handled. Now it's just turning off the iPad subtly so I don't forget later, and also continuing the intro smoothly. It's a whole operation, I'm just saying. Anyway, we've got a decent week, a handful of books right there. But, not so overpowering that I just got to jump straight into it. So, let me recline a bit so I'm not off camera. Let's do an update on the Rotlop fan audio drama. Things are going incredibly well. I am waiting for retakes from one person, the second set of lines from another, the first draft of lines from one person, and that's it. There's literally less than 4 minutes worth of recording and content that needs to be made before it is ready to be fully edited. I don't know how editing's going. I'm got to check in with the guy working on the project, Matt's. God, I can never pronounce his name. Salanker. God damn it. I'm sorry, Matt, if you're watching, which I know you're not, but yeah, I can never get Matt's name right. What else is going on in the world? But yeah, Rotlop fan's going along really, really well. I'm very, very excited for everyone to see this. If you haven't seen, there's a poster on my Twitter. I'll leave a link to it in the description. If there's not a link, someone remind me to put a link, because I'm getting hyped. Please spread the word about it however you're able to. Trailer will be coming soon. Got some work I need to do on the trailer yet, but made a lot of progress on that so far. Anyway, what else going on? Thank you, Rotlop fan. That feels really good. Oh, guys, the beard is pretty ridiculous. Look at this. He's got some pretty long hands. Anyway, Rotlop fan will continue to be my co-host and just chill right there. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Actually, no, that's a terrible place for you, Rotlop fan. I'm sorry. How about right there? That's a much better place for you. Oh, look, I set it up just right. There we go. Now it looks like he's sitting in the chair. See? Co-host. Yeah. Thinking. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it and start talking about the last book I read this week, which was Wonder Woman, number 22. This is the penultimate issue of Godwatch. There's one issue left in this story arc and one issue left in the next story arc, or the present time story arc. I really like the opening of this because it's a charity auction for dates, which is something that it would make sense for superheroes to do. And Wonder Woman's auctioning herself off for a date for charity. You could maybe make a whole argument about how that's a sexist practice, but I don't know. It's charity. I think everyone's kind of aware of the tongue-in-cheek nature of that. Red's asking if I've finally made sense of Ares. No clue what's going on with Ares. Waiting for next week for that issue. But anyway, the whole charity auction thing was really fun because when they introduced Wonder Woman, Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne are there, and they get into a bidding war for who gets to take Wonder Woman out on a date. And right when it hits about 7 million, Veronica Cale comes in and bids 15 million or 14 million. I really like that. That was a really neat way. It puts her on a certain level. It really puts Veronica Cale up there on a certain level because Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor have always been kind of, button heads. They're like the billionaires of the DC universe. And then you have like the second tier of Oliver Queen and Ted Kord and stuff like that. But having Veronica Cale come in and break up their bidding war by just throwing out $14 million, and the auctioneer hears that and immediately says sold. To have Veronica Cale do that kind of elevates her status of just how wealthy, just how many resources she has, that she can afford to spend $14 million as part of a ruse related to Wonder Woman. That's really, that is smart writing. That is smart characterization of villainy. And it's subtle, and it's it's also good optics. It makes her look good because she just spent $14 million on a charity, and it helps that she's of course a sympathetic villain. It's a little weird still to be reading this stuff or stuff like this when we have the present storyline going on, and in the present, in the most recent issue of the present storyline, Wonder Woman and Veronica Cale kind of come to an understanding and start to, Wonder Woman kind of, I wouldn't go so far as to say fully forgives, but offers redemption, or offers to help Veronica. I thought that was a little odd, that we get this, which sets her up as a villain, and it's in the past, but we get this after we got that moment of road to redemption stuff. Matthew Bennett asked the question that's burning everyone's minds: how much money does Ratlab Fan have to blow on charity? A lot of people question me when I decided to have a silent co-host, but I think it was a bold move that really pushed the boundaries of what you could do with the reviews on the internet. So anyway, Veronica Cale's plan, or there's this whole subplot of Veronica Cale having broken up a human trafficking business using mercenaries. And Wonder Woman kind of respects that, but she's now being threatened by these mercenaries and convinces Wonder Woman to help her, kind of suckers her into it, more or less. But Wonder Woman's nice, and so she's actually going to help her. And so there's this confrontation out in the desert in Nevada as these, human traffickers go to get essentially revenge on Veronica Cale. And in doing so, Wonder Woman's there to protect her and take him down. And as she's fighting, you see Veronica Cale on her phone talking to the AI villain. And we're left with this oh, you did a great job. You saved me, blah, blah, blah. And then we get the reasoning behind what $14 million and having Wonder Woman get shot at in the desert was all about. And it was about getting the resonant frequency of Wonder Woman's lasso of truth. And that's kind of like a thing in DC Universe that gets played with a lot. The idea of frequencies and vibrations. I've been reading a lot of Flash lately. So it's a recurring thing for DC. But what's interesting is the frequency only matches a couple locations on the planet, but those locations don't have anything there. There's no land. So the reason they can't, and the computer theorizes, the reason they can't find Themyscira is because, like Olympus and like Nanda Parbat, that was cool, like Olympus and Nanda Parbat, it is out of sync with reality, and it comes in and out. And that's just really cool. So then Wonder Woman just appears outside the window, pulls a Superman. This is totally a Superman move. Appears outside of Veronica Cale's window and says to her, "I told you I knew a great deal about you. I don't think you understood how much. In fact, I do not truly know what you wanted from me in the desert, but I do know of your connection with my friend Dr. Minerva, or perhaps you call her the cheetah. I shall be watching you. And she takes Veronica Cale's watch, which is some kind of transmitter, and crushes it in her hand and hands it back to her. Very, very much a Superman kind of move there. Superman and Lex dynamic kind of move. So I don't know. I thought this is a pretty solid issue. You know, the book I like the least, the book I have the most issue with, is out this week, but I still thought it was a good issue for that series. I still think it's a bad idea for a series. So I can say I had a lot of really good books this week overall, and just one that's like a mistake. So let's go ahead and move on then to that book in particular, Green Lantern, Planet of the Apes, number 4 of 6. Again, I'm just so not a fan of this idea. This is like, one, I am vehemently opposed to Planet of the Apes sequels if they do not understand the point of Planet of the Apes, and none of them ever do. 2, it's just like really, really by the numbers Green Lantern writing. And, you know, I was disappointed because I didn't realize, but Justin Jordan's the one actively writing this story. And Justin Jordan did the Green Lantern New Guardians comic from New 52 that I loved. I really, really enjoyed that book, and it played with the ideas of what the emotional spectrum is and how it worked. And like, I remember this great scene in that book where Kyle was learning all of the colors on the emotional spectrum, learning how to use all of them. And he's talking with Indigo, one of the Indigo tribe. And he says, I'm having an easier time mastering the positive emotions. It's the negative ones that I'm having a real hard time with, like avarice and rage and fear. And Indigo 1 has this fantastic, it's almost like Yoda-like. She's like, there is no negative. These are emotions. These are the states of reality. You feel them as is. Do not suppress that within yourself, or something to that effect. It's been years, but man, that was just such a great line. And it really, that's what sold me on the book and what made me really start reading it seriously. One sec, I'll show you something. It's always killed me that they never released a White Lantern Kyle Rayner action figure, because I love that run, and it was just really cool to see Kyle as a White Lantern. You guys probably know that I designed some, different power batteries for the different cores and did them in 3D and stuff. And this is the White Lantern battery. I actually had this 3D printed. It didn't do very well in the process. It's kind of broken on some of the parts. But, this is like really just, I wanted a White Lantern Kyle Rayner action figure so I could like stick this with him. It was just a neat thing. And I mean, he's back in the Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps book. I just don't know if we're going to get an action figure of him in the damn White Lantern outfit or not. But anyway, I really like Justin Jordan's take on the Green Lantern mythos. I think he has a strong take. The problem is this other guy, Robbie Thompson, developed the plot. And I don't know anything about Robbie Thompson, but it's just the most, I realize as I'm reading this, the problem I have with it is with just the basic outline of the story. I don't like the ideas. I don't like how predictable in nature this story is. But as I've been reading it, the dialogue is pretty strong. Some of the ways in which they're contriving these things are decent. There's some cleverness to this. And I realize we even got one of the characters, one of the Guardians from New Guardians in the book, retroactively. I thought that was really, really cool. but it's just the outline. And so I really feel like if Justin Jordan just got to write this on his own, it would have been a lot better. But since he's having to follow this outline by Robbie Thompson, it creates a real problem. So in this, we get the origin of how the Omega Ring, I think that's what they call it, got to, what do they call it again? Shit. I can't even remember. The ring that steals all the other powers. Shit. Universal ring, the universal ring. I don't know, it's like a whole thing. So Hal finds Guy and Kilowog and Aresia, and he gets a thing so that he can use his Green Lantern ring again. Sinestro puts on the Green Lantern ring, and he's able to use it. And la da 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 da. What's her name? God, I can never remember her name. What's the name of the female doctor from Apes? Oh, is it in the summary? Anyone going to help me in the comments? It's interesting. There's no catch-ups. They're just kind of letting you jump right in. Anyway, the female doctor catches up with Cornelius, the female doctor in Nova. How is it that I remember the woman's name but not the female ape's name? Come on. Come on, Ian. Get your shit together. You're a Rotlop fan. Hang out with the White Lantern Battery. White. He broke his vow. Matthew Bennett asks, couldn't anyone use any lantern ring if they just tapped into the right emotion? No, because you have to feel it incredibly strongly. You have to be able to center yourself and emulate that emotion. Like, there are people who you just characterize, that's an angry guy. That guy has serious anger issues, or that is a willful son of a bitch. That guy is stubborn as all hell. You have to have that as a part of who you are, as part of your character. And so, like, anyone can put on a ring, and depending on how they're feeling in the moment, they could maybe use it, like, briefly, but to actively, use it the way a lantern does, one of the core members, it takes a whole hell of a lot. It has to be who you are. Which is why I don't like a lot of the ways they cross over some of the stuff, because I don't feel some of these pairings work very well most of the time. Particularly Indigo. People have a really hard time understanding the concept behind the Indigo ring. And to be fair, a lot of that happened before we got the reveal of it, but even after the reveal, a lot of people have a really hard time with the Ring of Compassion because, like, I remember I saw fan art of Roni Kenshin as an Indigo Lantern, Samurai X. And I love Roni Kenshin. He's a great character. And yes, he is very compassionate. He does not get a ring of compassion. The compassion ring works backwards. The least compassionate person gets the compassion ring, and it makes you feel compassion and act rightly. That's the whole point of it. It's a reforming ring. So like someone like the Joker would be ideal for the Indigo ring, and people never do that. It bugs me. Do any Green Lantern comics tackle mental illness and how it affects emotions? That's a good question. I know Scarecrow got a ring at one point, and he's a sadist. And he has a lot of phobias and stuff. I'm not sure if there's like anything that directly deals with that, but that sounds incredibly interesting. It's a good idea for a story. Red asks, who got Indigo in Blackest Night? And it was Ray Palmer, and it didn't even make any sense there. What's weird is John sets up that what the Indigos are going to be at the end of Blackest Night, with William Hand getting like inducted into the Corps against his will, and yet, so like it's not like he hadn't thought of what they were going to be yet. So I don't know. Ray Palmer getting the Indigo ring, I guess that's the biggest misdirect, where it doesn't quite work. And like Jon Stewart got it at one point during War of the Green Lanterns, but still, it was just a weird idea. People have a really hard time with that one. But anyway, back to this. I'm having more fun just talking about the whole lore of Green Lantern than I am talking about this book, to be honest with you. What else happens in this? So Cornelius puts these clone rings onto some of the other apes, and is able to, it has kind of a conversion effect on them, where they become part of, like, they see things his way. It's very Star Trek almost, where as soon as you put it on, you're immediately corrupted, kind of thing. So the ring has a corrupting effect, and they immediately, like, even though they weren't sure about what Cornelius was saying, or they flat out reject what Cornelius was saying, as soon as they get the ring, they're basically minions. And then this does have a pretty good ending, where Cornelius is about to kill like an ape spy from the ape city. And then all of a sudden, like, his entire army just falls to the ground holding their heads. And we get, "You will kneel before Grodd." Let's see here. Red says Crane had no fear when he got it. Prolonged exposure to the toxin. Yeah, but the fear ring, the yellow ring, is about being able to instill fear in others, which obviously Scarecrow. You have the ability to, like, the green ring's thing is you have the ability to overcome great fear. The yellow ring is you have the ability to instill great fear in others. The red ring is you have great rage within your heart. The orange ring is you want it all. What else have I got here? Blue. What's blue? I can't remember blue. You have great hope within your heart, maybe? It's right. It's like right here, and I want to put it here, and just I can't quite get there. But I don't know. This, back to the book again. I like this reveal on Grodd. I like the idea of putting Grodd in here. Yes, Red, I know that the blue ring is hope. I mean, what does the blue ring say is the requirement to become a Blue Lantern? Not just hope. It's like there's a thing the rings say. Again, red is you have great rage within your heart. You belong to the Red Lantern Corps. Dr. Holocron, yes, red. Darth Maul could become a Red Lantern. Most of the Sith could. Darth Vader, easily. I always figured Vader for red, Sidious for yellow. And if anyone would like to send me some fan art of that, I would approve. I'm still wanting some fan art of Rotlop Fan, Geordie LaForge, and Matt Murdock hanging out. Is that so much to ask for? Come on, internet. Do your thing. Oh, Sith could be orange. That's a good point, too. No, I feel like there are other characters in Star Trek that fit that better. Like, I feel like Jabba the Hutt is a much better Orange Lantern than Darth Sidious would be. Wouldn't you agree? Anyway. I'm having so much trouble talking about this book. And that's the thing, is like, this book has interesting ideas that are just more fun to talk about than the book itself. Does anyone have any interest in me continuing to discuss this? Because, like, you all really wanted me to review it, because I just, I don't know, man. Like, you thought it'd be funny. I'm just like, it's a really bad idea. Oh man, an Orange Lantern Vader would be great. He cared only for himself. He only wanted to possess, to the point that he tried to possess Padme like an object and then the galaxy. See, again, I could see it, but I feel like Vader fits red more than he does orange. He's got so much anger. There's so much cold rage behind Vader that I just adore it. And again, Sidious, just like the Death Star is an instrument of fear. I feel like he is a lot better as a Yellow Lantern than an Orange Lantern. Jabba the Hutt is just a criminal lord. He feels like the person, and he lives very similarly to how Larfleeze would. You look at Jabba and he's got like the palace and just the way Jabba eats, it's disgusting. And the way he lives in such extravagance in such a poor area. He owns people. Jabba's just a great Orange Lantern in my estimation. Like, I would love to see him with that kind of power behind what he does too. That would be fascinating. Philip Kelton asks an interesting question. Would a Force user care about a ring when they can use the Force? It's interesting because you can do more with the ring than any person can do with the Force. I'm pretty sure, just like in the moment. Ring can't necessarily prolong your life, but it'll help. And if they existed in the same universe, it depends if you're doing like a universe crossover or if like the emotional spectrum is something that people in the Star Wars universe have yet to discover. It could be interesting to do a crossover like that and like say the emotional spectrum is an extension of the Force that the rings are tapping into in a very machine-like way, and so the Force is ultimately more powerful than anything you can do with the ring. That could be really interesting. Yeah. Interesting discussion. Please, Green Lantern, Star Wars. I love. Okay, here's what we need. We've got Green Lantern, Star Trek. It's coming up. It's good. We have Green Lantern Planet of the Apes. It's not good. We have Green Lantern Space Ghost. I cannot possibly bring myself to care. Can we please get Green Lantern Star Wars and Green Lantern Doctor Who? Is that so much to ask? Like, where's the way to get this to be a thing for DC and Titan to do? And please give it to one of the DC writers. I do not trust the Titan guys right now. Red Leader says, wait, why Space Ghost? I don't know, man. It happened. I had no interest. Like, the only thing I would read Green Lantern Space Ghost for, if it was Green Lantern Space Ghost Coast to Coast Space Ghost. If it was just Green Lantern being interviewed on the Space Ghost Coast to Coast show, that would have been fantastic. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and move along then, because that book's not very interesting. But it's okay. We're sticking with Green Lantern as we talk about the conclusion of Green Lantern Star Trek Stranger Worlds #6. And this one really did pay off a lot of what it was setting up for me, and that was really great. Oh, I really like this cover. Let's just talk about the cover for a few minutes. Because, like, okay, you got the battery with the Enterprise above it. So you're like, I love the way this parallels so much. Because you got the battery with the Enterprise. So that's like the source of power. Then you have Sinestro, the villain. You have Khan, who has a ring. And that paralyzes the villainy, kind of overshadowing and looming over. And then I love the way they break up the crew, because you have this like even thing. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. You have an even dispersal of the cast, but you actually interchange them. So you have, like, it could have just been, Kirk, Spock, Uhura, or McCoy, Scotty, Uhura, but they did Kirk, John, Uhura, Guy, McCoy, Hal, Spock, Carol, Scotty, Kilowog. I really like how that breaks down and sets them up. Cumbricon is back already. Yeah, Cumbricon came back in one of the earlier issues. Atrocitus sensed great rage coming from where Starfleet was holding him, and so tried to break in so he could tap into that to power his ring. And then just because he was on his last legs of power, Khan and the augments were able to overpower him. That was actually pretty clever. I just feared that it was set up too late. But it works really effectively here. We still lack an explanation for how Khan got to Oa, but it was pretty cool. And again, to see Kirk fighting Khan and Sinestro using a Green Lantern ring is really, really neat. I really liked that. And like at the same time, he's good with it. He's able to wield it, but he's still new, so he's not able to overpower Sinestro. Khan, he's able to pretty much wipe the floor with, because Khan's just as new, more or less, and slightly more experience. Though Kirk has seen the ring used more. Red, you're asking if this is after Beyond. I'm not aware. I've not seen Beyond yet because I refuse to support it. But yeah, so he's able to use the ring, but Sinestro is obviously much more capable, and so he's about to take Kirk out, but Kirk served as a distraction long enough for Hal and Guy and everyone to get back in the action. That was really cool, to recharge the rings and get back in. That was cool. That's effective. It's got your heart pumping and stuff. Meanwhile, the Enterprise being assaulted by a fleet of Klingon ships, as you do, and Carol is on the Enterprise, and Carol has a thing with Scotty that still I'm not really sure of, but she's able to use her connection with Scotty to power her ring with Power of Love, because you can do that. I like that. That's smart. And thus charge up the ship, which is something we introduced earlier in the first volume, that the rings could convert energy to power the ship. And so that's able to make it come back. And then there's still just this, epic ass battle on Oa, paralleled with the battle above Oa with the Enterprise and the Klingon ships. And Khan's ring runs out in the middle of the fight because his rage isn't enough to sustain what he's trying to do with it. It doesn't have enough raw power. And that's good setup. That's a good setup. Everyone's telling me Beyond is good. That's fine. I've heard great things about it. I refuse to support it. So I'll eventually see it, but by sailing the high seas, not by paying for it. And then we get an interesting exchange between Khan and Kirk here. I just want to figure out where to start. Yes, Khan, it is timing. Use constructs to choke grab him. And Khan says, yes, Kirk, do it. I am weak. I know you have augment blood in you. Now embrace that power. Kill me. And so we get something that is kind of like, it's more Abrams Star Trek, but yeah, it's like Kirk deciding not to. Deciding that is not what he is willing to do. What if someone sends it to you for free? No, I don't want anyone spending money on it because fuck Paramount, what they're doing to fan films. But anyway, so Kirk releases him and he's like, I'm taking you back where you belong. I like that. That's good. That's a very, the whole idea of noble Kirk thing. I like that. But Sinestro still has control of Parallax. And God, it's cool to see. I was listening to an interview with the writer of this, and he calls this design Godzilla Sinestro, which is really neat. Like in his script, that's how he wrote it down. As Godzilla Sinestro to give a sense of scale and everything. Excuse me. Hard time tonight. Big dinner. Anyway, but he's still like overpowering just the ring bearers. So Kirk tells Spock to hit him from orbit. And that's just a cool page. All of the Enterprise orbital striking Sinestro and the lanterns helping to take him down in the process is really cool. But Sinestro does not deal with defeat very well and disappears to the antimatter universe. That was pretty cool. All right. And then we're left with what's still going on. Well, the Klingons still have St. Walker. The red and orange rings are in containment, which is good. And Jim, let's just read the beginning of this little captain's log. Captain's log, my last for a while. That's a good start. And then we get the continuation on it. Captain's log, my last for a while. Down here on the bottom panel, we get the pickup of that. Let's go. Uhura, are you sure about this? Kirk, I'm only trying it out for a little while. I'm still the captain if it makes you feel better. I'll ask for Starfleet's permission when we get home. In the meantime, I'll just be wearing a different uniform when I'm outside. So Kirk is now an official Green Lantern in this universe. And that's just cool. And then we're left with like a really, really neat conclusion. Hal and Kirk are talking, and he says, by the way, I recognized an interesting system in your star charts. Looks like Starfleet hasn't been there yet. Kirk, is it worth checking out? Hal, definitely. It's got a big red sun. And that's just totally such a Star Trek ending right there. They're going to Krypton. I'm down for Volume 3, y'all. I am down ready for Volume 3. Is it super high-minded, really, really big moral play Star Trek? No. I'm okay with that. I do think there's a story there. There's, interestingly enough, there's a bit about like what could become a conflict between Star Trek and Green Lantern. And I hope the guy explores it. But so Scotty asks, what about the Manhunters? You said they'd betray the Guardians. And Hal says, I explained it again that they're going to adjust the Manhunters' programming so they stay friendly this time. And Spock says, you have used your knowledge of the future to alter the course of this reality. And Hal says, yes, and I'll do it again whenever lives are at stake. You know, I'm starting to trust this writer. He might know what he's doing. They initially talked about this and wanted it to be a ongoing, but they didn't want to put the cart before the horse and worry about sales and stuff. So doing this as 6-issue seasons, I'm down for. It needs to be paced just a little bit better, or it needs more issues per section. Either way, like I like this issue. It does wrap things up kind of well, or really well overall. It does wrap things up. I don't know. I'm interested to see where it goes. I want more. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's really fun. Nathan Snyder, I found out the Wonder Woman movie might incorporate the new 52 elements. Please no, thanks. I don't want Azrael's dumb retcon. I thought it was confirmed that they were doing new 52 Wonder Woman origin. I thought that was like very much confirmed as far as Wonder Woman being a daughter of Zeus. Sorry, shit out of luck. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to Kingpin, number 4. Kingpin. This can be a pretty good book, and like things keep going just shit for this lady. Last issue ended with them getting like mugged in a restaurant, and this issue picks up right where that left off, and Kingpin just beats the shit out of guys in an alley, and takes them out. And then it goes to her in court dealing with custody, and Kingpin's lawyer shows up, and now she gets, split custody of her children and alimony. And then it's Kingpin and her talking, and she's given a job at a newspaper. Does this say dining room? What? I don't know what people are talking about. Anyway, she gets a job working for a newspaper and is just handed a story that takes down Gavin Boyce like a billionaire or millionaire, whatever. And then she's immediately kidnapped by Tombstone again. And then after being kidnapped, she is, rescued by Fisk's men who shoot the place up. And as the guy's untying her, she's like, "Oh God, please don't kill me." And he says, "Why would I kill you? You're one of us." And she's just left in the middle of this room. That's really, really freaky. Oh, Red's asking about why it says dining room. This is supposed to be a security camera. There's like the crack. He's asking about the cover. Why does it say dining room? There's this security camera footage from within the diner that they were at. So it says recording dining room. Anyway, kind of a neat cover though. I like the way the crack works. It looks good. Also, I should say about the art, I'm not a huge fan of the art in this issue, but Fisk looks like a person again. He doesn't look out of place compared to the rest of the art. Like, he looks big and everything, but just he naturally blends in. His proportions don't look strange anymore. The art in this is much, much better because of that. A lot of dynamic action and cool looking stuff. I love this panel. The guy's getting tossed with all the shards of glass and stuff. That's cool. And there's a lot of interesting framing and stuff here too. Like, I love as Fisk takes this guy's knife and turns it around on him, and then just instead of getting the shot of the guy or the shot of Fisk, you get the reporter's reaction to it. That was cool. But yeah, like, I'm not really interested in the end. She's gone back to alcohol because of this shit. But like, this panel, it's a good panel. It looks cool, but just something about it doesn't quite work for me. I think it's just her. It's seriously just her face. It's too washed out. There's not enough detail in the face. I can tell from the mouth and the eyes that there's a lot of shock, but otherwise it's just too flat. It looks kind of like my webcam, which is kind of, shitty definition for HD, but it's just too flat. I really don't like her in that panel. Everything around the room looks good, but that might be a coloring issue more than an pencils thing, coloring or inking. But I don't care for that. It's just a little too flat of a face. Then the pants don't really look like fabric to me. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But yeah, I rarely get a chance to talk about these, but the word balloons when she's drunk are all squiggly. Nice little touch. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty solid issue overall. I'm enjoying this series more as it goes on. I really like the preview of the cover for next month's issue, as we get the life and crimes of Wilson Fisk. It's like, this is the book she's writing. That's a cool cover. I really, really hope the artist just did that on its own and then put it in the shot in Photoshop, because I really, really want that. Okay, anyway. I don't know, I really like that cover of his autobiography with the life and says times and it's crossed out in crimes of Wilson Fisk. That's neat. But yeah, solid issue. Continues to be a pretty good book month to month. Not like the best thing ever or anything, but solid. Anyway, let's go ahead and end this week with the return of something fantastic, which is Renato Jones, The 1%. Or no, this is Renato Jones Freelancer. Huh, interesting. So the first season's called Renato Jones, The 1%. The second season's called Renato Jones Freelancer. Sorry about that. And man, I love the first season of this book so much. I think it's interesting the way he's separating these as seasons. Really, really thick issue too. Getting your money's worth here for $4. That's a lot of pages. But what's like even more impressive, let me double check this, but I'm pretty sure. Like 97.5% share. Yeah, there's not a real ad in this. So like every page you're seeing is part of the book. It is part of the medium. Oh, they're talking about Gal Gadot and apartheid in the comments section. That's a fun one. Anyway, though, that's a lot of content for a single book, and that's really cool. And everything about the fact that it's using every page is very much intentional because there are ads, so it fits in with what you're used to with comics, which is why I'm glad I'm reading this in issue form and not in trade, because one particular ad in this would not work if the reason this would not work is because you can't really place the ads, at least in my mind, in the same way that you could in a trade that you can in single issue. So like we have this whole big opening actions. We have, funny enough, the first couple pages are previously on Renato Jones season 1, and we get like the setup for what's happened and who the characters are and everything. And then as soon as that's done, we go black and white for a long ass period of time here. But we get one page in black and white, and then we get an ad, and these are fake ads. And so this one, like you got this woman who's in this kind of like 17th century stylized lingerie. Anyway, she's in this 17th century stylized lingerie, and it says oligarchs and has like a take on the Gucci logo. Oligarchs coming soon to North America. That's some commentary right there. And then we get this big ass action scene all in black and white and really striking inks. You know me, I'm not a fan of black and white in comics. Obviously I colored in a manga on Free Comic Day. But we get all these striking black and white panels, and then the things that are like really, really important are, you know, the lettering and is highlighted in blue. And then like we get this really interesting use of black pages that just have a single sentence. I promised you. Renato Jones season 2. It's gorgeous spread page. anyway, we get a lot of like all of this is in black and white except for the sound effects, which are used in color to give them an extra sense of importance. That's really cool. And again, it's very much intentional what's going on here. Created, written, drawn, colored, and owned. Owned being in yellow lettering by Kaare Kyle Andrews. He is very much, with the lack of ads, he is making a very, very distinct and deliberate point about this book. That being that, you have like news outlets and other media outlets which are owned by, like it or not, really big corporations with their own interests at heart. We hear about stories about news places not reporting on things because it'll upset investors. I worked at a news station. I witnessed this. One of the reporters wanted to do a story on farming and what some farmers were doing that was harming the local environment. And the station manager heard about this, not the news director, the station manager, the business side. He heard about this story happening, and he called the news director, and he's like, half your audience are farmers. What the hell are you thinking? Or half the market's farmers. What the hell are you thinking running this? And he's like, it's news. I don't care. Dan Ball, not a nice guy to work for, but he did have some ethics. So like corporate interests do become a factor in the way things are presented to you, the viewer, even with something that is supposed to be just factual like news. This happens all across the country. So this obviously isn't news, but when you read certain things or view certain things of entertainment, you got to keep in the back of your mind that a corporation likely had a big part in making this happen for you, especially something that's like nationally viewable. And so, obviously, what is it? Dark Horse? Oh, no, Image. Image is the one distributing this, but Image is creator owned. It's a creator outlet. And so Kaare Kyle Andrews, Renato Jones, the freelancer, created, written everything by one guy. The only thing that Kaare Kyle Andrews doesn't do on this book is the editing and the lettering. Flats to Alice Ito. I don't know what flats mean, but that might just be like a nod to her or something that I'm not getting. So yeah, this is a very, very politically and socially charged book. So it's like the whole thing I was talking about with corporate things is they have interests, they have an agenda that they are on some level using to color what you're seeing. This is very much saying there's no one's agenda here but Kaare Kyle Andrews. And that's a really, really cool statement to make. Kaare's a big fan of comics as an art form unto themselves. And so, Akuma Ranger says, well, the moral rant of this is cash rules everything around me. Do very much, certainly, to a degree, certainly. That's part of what's going on in here. Like, there's this great message where in season 1 where Renato sends a message to the super rich that have their own little secret council, kind of Illuminati thing, and they're all freaking out. And the main villain of the book says, gentlemen, calm yourselves. No thing works for itself. This thing has declared class warfare. This freelancer wants war, then we shall war, and like any war, we shall profit. There's very, very much a sense of, yes, this is about cash owns you. But there's also a good sense of what the hell is going on with a society that is owned, what happens to a society that is, in effect, in slavery, and that gets brought up in the end. But anyway, we get these really just amazing action sequence with all this black and white work, and just Renato's costume really lends itself to black and white because it's just the black body, the big white face, and the big rounded white black eyes. it's really, really interesting to see. But as the fight tolls on and we get, just these little spots of color here and there to really draw your eye. Kuma Ranger says, is this book in trade? Might want to get on this later. Yes, you can buy season 1 in trade now. This is the beginning of season 2. It just hit today. So go get season 1 and then hop on season 2. But yeah, we get this just excellent scene. Oh, I should mention that he did do one variant cover because this is Image. I'll wait. I'll wait while you laugh because he's a little self-aware, which is fun. What's also interesting is Renato has his catchphrase, which is choke on this, and it's always spelled with a $sign. And so you look at the Spawn alternate cover. This is the variant cover, but he puts it in the book anyway because he wants to make a point that you don't have to spend money to enjoy. You don't have to spend extra money to enjoy the art or anything like that. So he puts this cover in there too. Spawn on this. That's really fun. I will say I felt that this was a bit of an overstep. I did not feel this was necessary because this 2-page spread, literally the exact same as the cover. It's the exact same thing. That was a tad unnecessary, and I don't feel adds to the story. It could have conceivably have been a misprint. I don't know. But there's already the title that comes up and it's in the middle of an action story. Because what's weird is you get the Spawn on this, and then you get the 2-page spread of what you already have as the cover, and then you get what would be the back of the Spawn cover. That's weird. So that could conceivably be a misprint. I don't know. So there's this battle that happens with this mercenary that was hired to take out Renato. And he ends up saving Bliss and all this stuff and killing the mercenary and blah, blah, blah. And then there's this really interesting use, again, of color. His book has been primarily black and white up to this point, where Bliss now knows who Renato is. And so she has this great line. It's like, no more masks, no more lying. And she puts the Freelancer mask back on Renato and says, there you are. And then it switches to color because they're going to sleep together. And she says, I've been waiting for you. And we get black pages again that deal with everything okay?
Yep.
All right. We get black pages that deal with a lot of the dialogue, a lot of what Renato's been thinking and dealing with. And we get a flashback to what he's been taught his whole life. And it's interesting how, again, Kaare uses, he's calling this himself. In the flashbacks, I'll try to get it. Yeah, you can kind of see it in young Renato's hair. The way that he uses the pointillism color shading for the color work on flashback scenes, and that's just inherently interesting and says something about comics as a medium too. But he flashes back to being told that he can't be with Bliss because she was raised in this world of elitism and how she's going to inherit it whether he likes it or not. And so he stops her and says, I can't. And she says, but I thought. And he says, I'm sorry, as she runs out. This life I'm wrapped up in, who I was, who I am, I died a long time ago. We see the Freelancer mask shattered on the floor. Maybe it's time I finally admit it. There you are, black. Just there you are on the page. It's cool. Then we get a scene with Bliss's father, who's the main villain of the book, and has kind of basically a Bane watch thing that the super rich have developed for themselves. And then we cut to, and he uses that on somebody. And then we cut to Renato waking up on his own. And it's been, and we get some news chatter, because this scene is 6 months after the beginning of the book. It was 6 months ago today that candidate Nicola Chambers survived that deadly terror attack. But in a show of true American courage, the country rallied around Chambers, and he saw his poll numbers triple overnight. Critics may be crediting the deep unrest in this country, but supporters look only to this resolve and determination. And the news bits are intercut with him being sworn in as president. With his daughter at his side and the entire nation behind him, today is the day this great country anoints the most powerful man in the free world. So he says, I do solemnly swear that I, Nicola Chambers, will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Help. I got here on my own, Judge. God had nothing to do with it. And now God answers to me. And then this is, again, where I don't think this would work in trade. I've yet to read this in trade. Someone let me know if they do pick it up. But you have this scene of this evil billionaire being sworn in as president of the United States next to another fake ad that says, autocracy. You asked for it. And you look at the woman in this ad, and she has a very SS or S&M bondage kind of look to her. That's literally parallel. Autocracy, you asked for it, as a evil billionaire is sworn in as president of the United States. This is anything but subtle. So again, fantastic issue. I guess the reasoning I can give, I'll give him an out for my one complaint. The only difference between this and this is that the actual cover has more stuff on it, just like the number 1, and then the image logo, and this section down here, which I still feel like it should be there, but this quote. And this quote is something I completely agree with. Anyway, there's this quote here that I really like. People are joking in the comments. Renato Jones is not only brilliant, biting, and darkly hilarious. It's the book we need right now. I tend to agree with it. It's definitely it feels really good to read this. It has an undeniable charm to it, and really like just the perfect immature, but in a good way, is we would say. It's very immature, but it's aware what it's doing. It's aware of the sense of just go out and burn shit down. And like you got the back on here, it says, how do you feel about anarchy? There's a lot going into this, and it is a very, very thoughtful, very profound book that's pretty needed right now. So I highly recommend Renato Jones, The Freelancer, or Renato Jones Season 2, whatever you need to call it. It's a damn good read. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Go pick up Season 1 now. You will not regret it. Kyle Andrews has just a hideously ugly art style about him, and it works perfectly in here. Again, great series. I'm so glad it's back, and I hope it stays for the next 4 years. Kuma Ranger says, given today's political climate, it is the book we deserve. I agree with you wholeheartedly. All hail the United States of America. Woof. All right, guys. It's 8:35. I will give you till 9 o'clock if you want. 8:45 if there's not much to talk about. But we can do some chat, some Q&A if you would like. Just leave me questions down below. Hope to hear from you. Oh, man, oh, man. Ian, thoughts on the death penalty? I do not support the death penalty. I think that we as a society should be beyond capital punishment. That's just, life in prison is just as effective. If we emptied out prisons for relatively harmless offenders, we'd be perfectly capable of doing it at, lower cost. I don't feel comfortable with the state murdering people in a planned and efficient way. Matthew Bennett, Ian, what lantern color would Danny be? Green. He is stubborn as shit. Also, your thoughts on James Cooley getting fired? Oh, Comey. God, I mean, just how fucking blatant a message do you need? The thing that gets me the most about Comey and this whole situation is Trump campaign on his whole thing of drain the swamp, drain the swamp. And yet, when he got in office, he hires fucking billionaires and shit into his cabinet. And then, no one brings up that he was saying drain the swamp. No one on his supporters, get angry about him or anything, yell about him for that. And then he fires Comey, and that's when they go, oh, see, look, he's draining the swamp. Fucking really? What does this man have to do to convince you that you fucking made a mistake? God damn. Ian, do you have a limit on how many trailers a movie should have? -3. I try not to watch trailers. I never seek out trailers. There are some movies I don't care about enough to avoid the trailers, so that if it comes on, I'm not going to drop everything to go avoid it. But I'm doing that with Last Jedi. The only part of the Last Jedi trailer I've seen is Rey going on some black rocks before I made it out of the theater, which is, ideal. Anyway, let's see here. What are your thoughts on the Wonder Woman movie coming up? I really don't want it to suck. I get the whole thing you guys were talking about with apartheid and all that, and I understand that argument. If you morally object to it, that's fine. I think she's, like most soldiers, sadly kind of brainwashed with propaganda, so I don't expect anything more of her than that. That being said, whether that'll affect the movie itself or not, I mean, I'm doubtful. I don't like how she's been using the role, but people aren't smart enough for that to understand the distinctions there, unfortunately. But the movie itself, I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it in theaters. I just want it to not suck. That's all I really want, is I want the Wonder Woman movie to not suck. Philip Kelton, what do you think about Batman dragging children into his lifestyle? People give Batman a lot of shit for this. I prefer the Robin stories where he doesn't want them to be Robin, but they find out he's Batman, they keep going out, and so it'd be irresponsible of him not to train them. And he really has no room to talk. So, I don't know. I don't think it's nearly as irresponsible as Captain America and Bucky. Question, given the blowout from Secret Empire Free Comic Book Day, what's your take on people being enraged at product without actually seeing it for the context? I've had a lot of varied thoughts on the whole Secret Empire and Spencer's run as of late. Because initially I was with him. He was writing a really strong Captain America book with Sam Wilson, and he seemed to clearly understand what he was doing by making Captain America an agent of Hydra. But the more I've seen from Nick Spencer and the more I see about what his solutions to these kind of problems are, the weaker that book has gotten for me. So I understand why people don't I'll say there's a reason not to like it. I think it's a little ridiculous for people to just knee-jerk reaction. Oh, you can't do that. I'm like, come the fuck on with that. You can do anything. You can get away, like, I'll steal this from Cap, but I do love this saying. You can get away with anything as long as you can get away with it. There are some things that you probably should not try to get away with, and this could very well have been one of them, but you can get away with anything as long as you can get away with it. Let's see here. Are you watching any of the DC TV shows and quick thoughts on each? Nope. I don't think I'm going to go back to Flash after the way the second season ended. I heard nothing good about the third season, so I have very little interest in that. Grey Childs. Ian, do you think that Steve would go mad with power if he became president and make the filmmakers and writers he despises live difficult lives while Grant Morrison became president in South Park? Like when Garrison became president in South Park. Would Steve Baxley go mad with power? I think that's fairly obvious he would. But would he make the bad filmmakers lead terrible lives? Yes. Unequivocally, yes. Do you watch Secular Talk? I feel like I've heard of that before. Is that like one of those new atheist channels? I don't like the whole new atheist movement very much. It's like I understand the reaction behind it, and I'll admit I too had a phase where I was like that, but there's just unfortunately a very what's the word I want? There's a not seeing the forest for the trees attitude with a lot of people in the new atheist movement, and that worries me. Let's see here. Hi, Miracle. We're just doing live Q&A, so if you want to stay, feel free to stay. Did you ever read the Great 10 DC Comics 9-issue run? The Great 10 DC Comics 9-issue run. It wouldn't be 10 issues. No, I did not. What major comic group or character have you not gotten into but want to? There's a lot, honestly. I really want to read more X-Men. I've not ever picked up like an X-Men comic since the early 2000s, and that's like a graphic novelization of like a spin-off of X-Men Evolution. Thoughts on the regression movement? I don't know what the regression movement is. Okay, I'll look into it, Matthew Bennett. I've been watching Star Wars Rebels. I've been watching that season by season. I finished season 2 recently. I've got to go through and watch 3. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. There's a lot of other shows I'm watching as of right now. Kuma Ranger, how pumped are you for the War of Jokes and Rails? Oh my God, I am so ready for that. I'm so ready to see Tom King write the Joker. After such awful Joker stories over the last couple of years, I am so ready to see someone actually write the Joker well. And like, I don't know that he's going to, but I really, really hope so, because God, I need good Joker again. Like, it's not just that Joker has been bad, it's that people have like talked about, Death of the Family and Endgame like it's the best Joker ever, and it's horrible characterization of it. Just horrible. McCaffrey says, I know it was canceled at 9, but just on principle, they should have let it go to 10 issues. Least favorite member of the Green Lantern Corps outside of the Human Ones? I'd say Guy Gardner if you said outside the Human Ones. I don't know. There's no aliens that I just straight up hate or anything. I like most of the Green Lantern Corps. Boudica is just kind of all over the place. No one ever really knows what they're doing with her, and so that kind of annoys me. But that's just poor writing for her most of the time. What's your least favorite Joker story outside of Scott Snyder's run? Joker by Brian Azzarello. Hate that book. Yeah, Nathan Snyder. Endgame was best Joker. Are they high? That book sucked. I know, man. Like, what was it? CBR, I think, did a list of the top 100 Joker stories, and Endgame and Death of the Family both broke the top 10. Just God, no. Like, I don't like a lot of the Silver Age Joker stuff because they couldn't really do anything interesting with them. They could only have fun. But I don't like a lot of that. But God damn, Joker's utility belt beats fucking Endgame. Most thought-provoking comic in your opinion, Sandman? What was the dumbest thing you ever did? Like Poor Judgment Call wise. Woo! Okay. Everyone. Oh, yes. Yeah, Haley's interested now. Everyone quit asking questions because this is a doozy. I'm gonna be talking about this for a stretch. So just stop tapping for a minute. Okay. So back in 2007, we were making one of our movies. It was the first movie I made with Bobby and but David and Phil and everybody. We were making one of our movies. It was called Seether's Revenge, and I'm pretty sure you can still find a lot of it on YouTube. Like, YouTube's been pretty bad with some of my really old videos because of the that was before they really got on your ass about copyright. So we could get away with it for a while, but then it got, pulled and stuff like that. All right, let's see if we can find Seether's Revenge. Those are the 2010 versions. Okay, yeah, you can find parts 2 and 5. Let's see here. If I go to part 5, I think this one has the scene in it. No, this has just the very end. Damn it. I was hoping I could find the scene that I was about to talk about, but no such luck. Only parts 2 and 5 are up. But anyway, yeah, we made this really awful movie called Seether's Revenge. It's not worth your time. Don't ask me to upload the full thing. It is not worth your time. But anyway, there's a scene where the killer, Seether, throws our friend Matt on the ground. And the reason he did that is because my character, Detective Johnson, because back when I had my afro, I obviously looked the most like a police detective. My character, Detective Johnson, and my friend's character, David, my friend David's character, Malik, because he was a pimp and he needed a cool name. We're driving a car, an SUV, and we were going to run him over. That was our plan. But he, at the last minute, throws Matt's body in front of us, so we end up inadvertently killing Matt, which really sucks. Oh, man, you guys didn't know about my afro. Okay. I'll get to that too. Afro, also poor decision, but not intentional. Anyway, so he throws Matt's body, and we run it over. And the way we shot it is shot of us in the car driving, shot of Matt in front of the headlights going, ah! And then it was supposed to be a shot from inside the car of of us running him over and realizing, oh shit, we killed him. So we needed to run over something to give the impression that we ran Matt over, as far as the camera shake and the for us to react to. And so we were aware of some train tracks on the far end of our neighborhood, kind of out where it starts to get into farmland and stuff. And it was night, and there were no streetlights. So we get to where we know the train tracks are in the distance, and we're at the sign that alerts you train tracks ahead. Now the thing is, that sign is actually pretty far away from the train tracks itself. They want to give you time to stop. They really, really wanted to give you time to stop. So there's probably at least half a football field between the sign and the train tracks. And so we get everything set up, and we start recording, and so as soon as we start recording, we're in scene, and we want the sound of the car accelerating and everything as we're trying to hit the villain. So we're actually accelerating, and this car had some pretty good pickup. So we're actually accelerating, and again, there's quite a bit of distance between the sign and the train tracks. And this particular set of train tracks was on a very steep incline. It's like road, incline, train tracks, incline, road. It is significantly steep. It's like a good 35, 45 degree angle. So we're accelerating. We're about 80 miles an hour coming up really quickly on a 35, 45 degree angle. And so we straight fucking jumped the car. And you can see in the original video the sudden surprise on our faces when we realize we have left the ground. And it's brief, but it's the look. It's the and then we land safely and see David like swerve a little bit as he tries to get the car back under control. And amazingly, the car was fine. Shockingly, the car was all right. But yeah, we got out. We're like, oh my god. And we had to like start looking around the cars, see if we fucked it up. And oh man, woo, that was fucking ridiculous. Woo. Everyone's asking me to upload that. Okay, I'll look for that scene. That doesn't have any music in it. I'll look for that scene and I will upload it by your request. So yeah, terrible decision on my part. But man, it was fun. We told that story forever. Actually, I did not shit my pants. My bud Phil was the one filming. The way we set it up is me in the passenger seat, David in the driver's seat, and Phil was in front of me in the passenger seat, like on his knees, holding the camera up near the dashboard so he could get both of us. And he was on his knees with like propping his feet against his butt to like remain stable and all this. And so the impact of hitting really like hurt him pretty bad. It's like I think he said his ass was sore for a couple days. And that was pretty funny. That feel you get by jumping a car. Yep. It was the most terrifying nightmare you ever had. I don't remember my dreams too well, but oddly enough, my earliest memory is a dream. However that works. Most over-adapted Batman comics, Dark Knight Returns. It's been done. Also, Year One. There's too much out there just adapting that. Oh, y'all want an image of me with the afro? I guess I could just find the old video real quick and screen share that for you. Let's see here. Seether's Revenge. Okay, there we go. Well, this is weird. Oh, right. All the bloopers are in this. Okay. So I'm going to apologize. McCaffrey asks how the Green Lantern audio drama is coming along. Good. I always update about that at the beginning of each episode. So I'm going to apologize if I do what I did last week, which is when I tried to stop screen sharing, I ended the call. So in case that happens again, you get to be left with this image of me with an afro. Okay, so here's, there we go, full screen, start sharing, and you're seeing an infinite loop. Okay, so let's full screen this and play around. And yeah, you can just look up Seether's Revenge on YouTube. There are like sections of this movie still in existence. There's Bobby. Everyone say hi to young Bobby. Hey, he looked over at me. He laughed. Bloopers. But yep, there we go. There's Ian with the afro. It was pretty substantial. It's up there, and there are the sideburns too. What I was trying to do is I wanted my hair to always be down like this, and so I started growing it out, and it just didn't go down. It just went up. So this happened. I got an afro by accident, and I had to treat it to get it to come down. For a couple of years there, I had an afro. Good times, good times. What, you want to see me with the afro?
I already seen you with the afro.
Okay, fine. Yeah, look at my detective wearing a leather jacket and a Pink Floyd shirt. There's a better daylight version of me with the afro. There's Nick. Hi, Nick. God damn it, Nick. Oh, there's my old bedroom. That was Andrew. And there's Scott before the afro. Okay. We're doing things here. Yeah, but you look this up on your own if you want to see the full silliness. People are making fun of me. Oh man. Maybe for some reason the idea of afro remind me of 70s porn. Do a geeky gentleman on the porn industry. Okay. Everyone's making fun of my afro. You could rock an afro in. Thank you, Nero Cole. Thank you. Red says, I mean, Steve had crazy hair back in the day, but still. Oh, everyone's making fun of me. Everyone's making fun of me. See how y'all are? Ron Jeremy circa 1971. Woo! Okay, there we go. Stop screen sharing. Yep. I mean, like, I always wanted it to come down, and now, unfortunately, I'm going bald due to my medication. But I always wanted my hair to come down, and so that was the way to get it there, was to first grow out. That's actually why we think that there's probably some African-American heritage for me, because Hispanic nor Irish hair grows like that. And I got a cousin who had the exact same thing. Like, there's a picture of a cousin of mine from the 70s. And it looked like me when I was a teenager because he had the afro and everything. You'd look amazing. I think you look cool with an afro. Thank you, Philip. I appreciate it. If you could build an army of sentient hairstyles, what would be the hair you choose? That's where we're gonna end, and I'm just gonna go with the beard wrap, where there's like just the unending like face frame of beard and hair that I don't quite have anymore. Like, if I had this beard when I had an afro, that's what it would be, because my afro like covered up my ears, because I was really self-conscious about my ears back then. But if it could be the beard wrap afro, that would be the hairstyle, sentient hairstyle to take over the world. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Till next time, this is part 2.